Katrina here from Scrappy Horses, and I am delighted to share this project with you today. It's a project that I made for Creative Artiste Challenge blog, where I am a guest designer right now. So drop on by the challenge blog site and check out the incredible projects from the DT. They always have amazing mixed media projects over there. And if you so choose, share with them what you've been up to in your mixed media craft room. All right, a little bit about this project. I was actually on a Facebook page where a lady was talking about how she enjoyed doing journal cards. And she has a box and she has different prompts and she journals on just cards and sticks them back in that box. And I thought, oh, wouldn't that be too fun for mixed media to have a little box, like a recipe box size, where you simply have these cards in there. You just pull a card and you could have prompts, or you could do it like a diary. There are so many different ways you could do this. So I decided that's what I'm going to do for my project for the Creative Artiste Challenge. So let's head on over to Design Space in Cricut. Let me show you the box pattern that I used, and then we're going to head over to the craft table and I'll show you how I assembled and decorated it. Okay, so here we are in screen number 1 for Design Space. Here, what I'm actually wanting to show you are just the pieces that I imported to make this box. This is not where I actually did any of the designing or brought in my pattern papers or anything like that. I'll share that with you in just a minute. This is just the actual box import. Each little frame of this box, because there are 4 sides of the box, and it's in a somewhat rectangular shape. Now you can tell it's not a straight down rectangle. It has 4 sides, but it is not a rectangle because it kind of comes in at the bottom. It has a slight V shape to it, just slight. Each panel, the 4 different panels, each panel has 3 pieces. It has a frame, it has a piece for your designer paper or a different colored paper if you so choose, and then the actual box piece. I also want to share with you, while we are in this frame, how this box fits together, because my camera clicked off when I actually did it in the video. So let's just talk about that right here, right now, the way this construction will work. You're going to have your pattern paper, which will be glued onto each panel, along with the frame if you so choose. It comes with this little handle, and it also comes with a little nameplate piece here that you can cut from paper. All right, so the assembly on it, once you have these pieces together, and I will show you that in the video, what's going to happen is you've got your fronts and your sides, and this piece is going to come in and glue in to this piece like so. Then your next side piece will come in and glue in right there over that tab. Then here comes piece number 4, which will be your front. Of course, it doesn't have to be. This could be your front and these could be the sides. It's totally up to you. But in this design that we're doing, this is how it's going to fit together, and this will be the front. And what's going to happen then is it will glue in. Now, obviously, on these fold lines, they're going to fold, right? So you can see how this is going to form a rectangular type box, and this flap will then glue in under this side right here. Again, this box is from myscrapchick.com. It's called the Organizer Box, and it is on sale there currently. I'm looking at it over on my other screen, and I will link all of that below so that if you're interested in getting this file, you definitely can find it. It comes with file cards that come with it also. So you have everything you need to put together this box. Now, you can actually make a box that sizes up to as big as will fit on your 12 by 12 paper. So don't feel like you're stuck to the size that I made. That is not true at all. You can size this up and pretty much get whatever size you like. I have made this box before, and I've made it much larger. And I will link that little box below also if you want to go take a look at that. All right, let's leave the screen now and let's pop over to the screen where I designed this. Screen number 2. Here you get to see what I have done with the different pattern papers that I have brought in. And I'm going to show you a couple of things I did so that you can understand how I manipulated this to work the way it does. Okay, so I have these pieces. Again, here's my, actually, I used this as my front. I lied in that video, or in the segment of the video before. I apologize. I did use the long rectangular side here to be my front, okay? And these are my sides, these short ends. On the box I made the first time, I reversed that. These were my front and back, and the long sides were the sides. All right, so let's take a look at this. If you follow me and you watch many of my videos, you know that sometimes I add everything here in Design Space just to get a good idea of what we're going to end up with. This project is no exception. This lace right here that you are seeing, that is not on the paper. That is an added little piece of lace, and it's just there as a placekeeper. You will also note that I used a metal pewter plate. I did not cut one. This is simply a placeholder. I did not cut this. These tab dividers, and again, I shared before that tab dividers do come with the My Scrap Chick Organizer Box collection. However, I liked these because I liked the way they stuck up on the right middle, and then I liked this little decorative edge. These are from the Cricut library, and they are from my kitchen. If you are interested in knowing how I got these designs to fit the way they fit into these sections of the paper, for example, how did I get this little girl to sit right here so that she could sit right in here and look like this when she came from a full sheet of paper? If you are interested in knowing that, I'm going to link you to another video where I show that, because if you already know how to do that, then you're not going to be interested in that. So I'm just going to link you to another video for that if you're interested. All right, so moving on to one other thing I did on this particular project that you might not be familiar with is you can take a piece of paper and you can cut away and make layers. So these pieces right here were this. This is one piece of paper with this little strip on it. What I did is I copied this, and I'll just do that. I'm doing a Command C, Command V, and here it is right here. Then I can bring in over here on this left-hand panel shapes. I just bring in a square. That's all I need to do. Pull my square, line it up, select these two pieces. Okay, I'm selecting the square and I'm selecting my piece of paper here. I'm lining this up as closely as I can. And you know what? We'll just focus in here a little bit so you can see a little better. Get these squared up as best I can. Select both by dragging over them. I am left clicking my mouse. I'm coming down to the slice button. I'm clicking. And now I have this. Now all I have to do is bump it up over here. Again, select by left clicking and dragging with my mouse. Slice. And now I have this piece. Now, what I did is I went a step further. I brought in another square and I repeated the process by lining it up inside of here. So I'm going to unlock my square. I'm going to set it right inside next to that blue. Move it over to select in with the blue, like so. Get it as closely as I can without infringing upon the lighter space color in between. And let me just pull this over so you see what I'm talking about. I don't want to infringe upon this light color. I want to stay right inside of there. Select, slice. And now what I have is I have this piece and I have this piece. Now you're thinking, wait, I don't want to cut these little strips and glue those in. Why would I do that? You wouldn't. You're going to get rid of all of this, bring this piece back, and now you can glue this piece in over, and that's how I got these three pieces for this front panel. Okay, hope that all makes sense. And again, if you need help getting paper to fit within a certain shape, I will link you to another video for that. So hopefully I've covered how we do these things in Design Space. So now let's move on to the actual project and constructing it. See you over at the craft table. Okay, on my way to the craft table, I met up with my cereal box and I decided, hey, let's try figuring out if we can use those scores that are already in the cereal box as the scores where it's going to bend and fold to make this even easier. Because, you know, sometimes bending that cardboard is pretty difficult. So this is what I have done. I have put my natural score line of the cereal box on the 1-inch line. I have set my paper size at 8.5 by 11. What I have done here is I have shown you the natural score line of the cereal box with that red line. And I'm going to line up where the fold is going to be, where the actual crease is going to go. I'm going to line that up on my 1-inch mark. So now let's head to the craft table and I'll show you how I did this. So here's my cereal box. I have 1 inch on one side, 4 inches on the other side. I'm going to back this with black construction paper. As you can see, this is just my cornflake cereal box. I'm going to use tape and I'm going to go ahead and just tape up as close to the edges as I can with double-side tape. Once I've done that, I will peel the tape away and then I will add some Fabri-Tac. Now, the reason for adding Fabri-Tac over the top of this tape is it gives me wiggle room. If I do not get that black paper placed exactly where I want it, then I can wiggle it and move it around. So now, here I am. I've got my black cardstock on the other side. Now, here's my Cricut mat. I'm going to place that score line directly on the 1-inch mark. I realize this might be a little difficult to see, but if you think about your Cricut mat, it's lined up in grids and they're 1-inch squares. So what I've done is I've just lined it up with that 1-inch mark, just the way I set it up in the Design Space to cut it. Now I will be cutting this project with a deep point blade and a strong grip mat. Because my strong grip mat is just a little on the old side, I'm going to add a little masking tape for security. Now here we are at the crafting table. I have my scoreboard here and I'm ready to roll. Here are the little frames that we talked about that are going to go around the sides of the little box, and I cut them out of a blue paper. Here are those two little pieces that we talked about in Design Space. Here are the two sides. Here's the back panel of decorative paper and front of the decorative paper. Here are my cereal box pieces, and you can see that the fold is already in there. It worked out pretty well. It may have been just a fraction off, but not bad. And I'll tell you, it made the fold very easy on that bottom. I'm going to be using this little My Life that I printed, and then the mini medley pieces from Close to My Heart. These are long retired, and some Petaloo flowers. I'm just going to be using one of those. Now, I pulled this piece of lace. I did use it on a card. However, I used a different little bit of lace on the actual box. I want to go ahead and manipulate these folds just a little more. I want to go slowly with it. These are already in basically because the manufacturer of the cereal box put them in. I'm going to go ahead and burnish them in just a little deeper. I'm not sure that I really needed to, but I went ahead and I did this. Now, again, when you're manipulating paper like this, you want to go slowly, because if you just fold it over as quickly and harshly as you can get yourself into some trouble, and you can rip that construction paper that's on the other side that we glued on there. Now, you will also notice, here's another trick for you. I actually took a black marker and marked right down the 6th line. So when I go to score something with my scoreboard, I can match it up and know exactly where I'm heading. This piece was a great example because this is not a 90-degree angle here. Remember, I told you that it has that little V? So you really want to make sure you line it up on the same line and you don't get yourself into trouble. Here's another place because it has a slight V to it. It's not going to be, you can tell that I don't have the top bumped up against the scoreboard. So you want to be really careful when you're doing this. And these score lines were put in by the Cricut. They were not put in by the cereal box manufacturer. So I need to go a little bit slowly here. I need to crease these in as far as I can crease them. So I'm going in with a little bit of heft here, a little bit of weight. And I'm just taking my time then when folding it over so I don't rip that black construction paper. Now you're going to watch me do this again. So while you're watching me do that, I will tell you that these beautiful papers that you are seeing are from Victoria Designs. I will link it below. I really enjoy working with her papers. They're beautiful, they print well, just amazing designs. And let me tell you, variety, she has something for everybody over there. I mean, I don't want to turn this into a commercial for Victoria Designs, but I'm impressed with her papers and her designs. I enjoy working with them. She has several videos with lots of ideas. It's a place where you could fall down the rabbit hole and spend a lot of time. So I do caution you about that, but if you're looking for some good quality digital paper, I definitely can recommend Victoria Designs. I use her papers quite a bit. All right, moving on now. We finally have all those scored. I want to give you a couple of options for finishing off these edges. I know that not everybody has ink pads. Not everybody has Copic markers. But what I did to finish those off is I just rubbed them over a black ink pad. Here I'm using some of the vintage photo just to kind of bring some brown in. And now I'm bringing in some close to my heart. I believe this is Indian corn blue. It is long retired, but that tells you exactly how long these close to my heart inks last. I mean, they last forever. When you buy one of these ink pads, it is not going to dry up on you. I mean, I've had mine for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years and still using all of them. So anyway, I'm adding some blue to this, and here's another trick for you. If you have something that's a shade of blue that you like, but then you get to it and you're not real fond of it, ink it over with another shade of blue. It works every time. It'll save you every time. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and start preparing all of these panel pieces. These are the designer panel pieces that will be going in over the cereal box. I'm going in at the very edge with double-side tape over all of them, all of the edges. That would be 2 fronts and 2 sides, okay? Now we're coming in with those side pieces, and I'm going to add with a little bit of really thin double score tape and Fabri-Tac. I'm going to go ahead and add these little frames around the 2 sides and the back. I'm not going to talk about the fronts yet. We'll talk about that in a minute. But we're going to go ahead and prepare these and get them ready to put on the box. All right. So we're going to peel that off. Again, I am using Fabri-Tac over this double-side tape, because if you put that on without, you have no wiggle room. And if you're not exactly straight, which I never am, you can get yourself into trouble. All right, so as you can see, I've already done one side. I'm going to do this side, and I'm going to do the back. So I'm going to go ahead and get those done and not bore you with that. Now, wait, stop. The front. All right, Post-it note time. Wait, lace, pierce. What else do I need to do? Yeah, just lace and pierce. I am putting all those pieces together with that Post-it note so that I don't get excited and glue those down. All right? I'm not gonna spoil this. No spoiler alerts here. All right, so now let's go in with those 2 pieces we talked about in Design Space. This will just give it some dimension on the front cover. Here, I'm just sneaking in one more way that you can finish those edges. If you're not a person who has a lot of ink pads laying around, you can always use a Copic marker and go around the edges. Here, I'll be honest, I used the black Copic because I didn't want to wait for that black ink to dry because it seems to take longer and I tend to smudge things. So I came in with some dark blue and went around those edges. Now it's time to assemble this box. All right, which I lost, and I'm so sorry that I lost this. But what I'm doing is I'm adding double-sided tape on all the tabs. Then what I will do is I will assemble it exactly the way I showed you at the beginning of this video, at the very beginning when we were in Design Space. Just line up the tabs with the sides and put it in place. Now, here's the trick. Here's my tip. When I do this, I use Gorilla Glue because Gorilla Glue really holds. It is great for 3D projects and for books. I use it quite a bit on books. All right, now this is the bottom. And how I did the bottom is I just cut a rectangle to fit it. I never mess with the bottoms of boxes in Design Space. And I just cut a rectangle to fit it. That's, I just slice it. So I took my cereal box and I glued my black cardstock on, cut my rectangle to fit, and then again, I used my double side tape with the Gorilla Glue. Now the Gorilla Glue will do the same thing. It will give me room to slide that around and make it fit and square up those corners the best I can. And here you can see me sort of manipulating and doing that and just placing it in. Now I also went in from the inside and I pressed down from the inside also. So you can see me here. I didn't like the way things were really fitting. I pulled it up and I did it again and placed it back in again. All right, again, I'm going to finish off some of those edges that were showing white, this time just using a Copic marker. Either way works. Ink pads, Copic markers. There are probably other ways that you like to finish things also. You can add them in the comments below. I always enjoy hearing how other people finish their projects or how they're working with things. All right, so you get another idea here of using the Copic marker. Now it's time to get to the fun part. We've done all the prep work and we get to start adding this beautiful paper onto the box. So again, I'm using the double-sided tape. I'm covering it with Fabri-Tac, and there's our back panel. I just think those little children are so sweet. And the lace part on that is obviously part of the paper. Here's this little girl on the side reading her book. So cute. I just think they're so cute. So we're going to go ahead and adhere it in exactly the same way. We're going to use some Fabri-Tac and just glue these two side pieces into place. All right, once we've done that, then we'll be moving on to the front. All right, we're going to do a little check here on things and get this last panel into place. All right, here we are, back to the Post-it note. Wait, don't do any gluing, don't do anything. All right, now you're probably thinking, why does she have to put a Post-it note on that? Well, the truth of the matter is sometimes I get into the zone and I'm listening to music and I just start gluing away, and that gets me into trouble. So that's why I do that. I write myself a note and then I don't get into trouble. All right, I said, hey, wait a minute. You saw my finger come up there. That was because I decided, hey, let's give this a little more dimension on the front. So I'm cutting a little bit of cereal box here by hand, and I'm going to take that cereal box and make sure that it cuts within the size of the frame, because I don't want more bulk than I'm already going to have under that frame. So keep in mind that the piece that you're seeing there is glued directly down onto the paper. Okay, now I'm going to take that little itty bitty strip that we cut and I'm going to glue that on top of this little piece of cereal box. Okay, all this is doing is it's giving it more dimension on the front. I have to wipe away that glue that I accidentally laid that down. And now here comes that little piece. Now remember, I inked around the edges, so that's going to make it stand off. Now remember when I told you there was going to be enough bulk under the frame anyway? Here's the lace, and that lace is going to cause some bulk underneath that frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this in, trying my best to leave just a little itty bitty smidge of paper at the top that little frame can sit down next to. All right, so I can get that glued above the frame. So you can see here that I've cut away a little bit of that just to try to get that. So now I'm trying to maneuver this exactly where I want it so that I can accomplish two things. I can get the frame fitting securely and the lace looking pretty with my paper at the same time. And I will tell you that I did fuss with that a little bit. And I didn't show you all the fussing I did because we would have been here way too long. All right, so here I am piercing holes with a piercing tool into the paper front. Okay, now I do not have the black piece under there. This is just the designer paper. Now, I thought, how am I going to get this little piece in and get it to stay exactly where I want it while I put it in with my little brads? Well, I remembered those little corners that I cut off with the double-sided tape. And hey, that's where the thought came to me. I pulled those in and just put those little itty-bitty corners in. There we go, clip it in half. And one did end up on the right and one did end up on the left side there, just to hold those into place. Now, next thing I needed to figure out was I wanted to put glue on the back of this to make sure it stayed there, but I also wanted to put my brads in. So what I did is I just put one brad in at a time, have my glue on the back, and now I can just flip this over and I can take the little arms of the brads and put them out, and now the glue holds it in place as well as the brads. Now the brads are not going to show, obviously, because they're going to get glued in next to the actual box, next to the cereal box part. Okay, so they're not going to show, they're not going to cause us any problem. All right, here we are with some kitchen string. Just kitchen string, nothing exciting here. I'm going to wrap it 1, 2, 3 times. And once I get that, then I'm going to leave a little tail on it. So you can see that each side has 3 little possibilities for a bow on it. And there's my little tail, and now I will cut off the tail. All right. With the kitchen string, it's kind of thick and it's a little bit heavy. So all I have to do is just push it together and lay it down on my table. That's all I need to do, and it's going to hold that shape for me. So I don't have to, hold it with one hand or do anything crazy. Fishing line. Here is another tip. If you don't craft with fishing line, you are missing out. Fishing line is great for holding things on wreaths. If you like making floral things, wreaths for Christmas or fall wreaths, fishing line is perfect because you can buy it in all different weights and it will hold things that you wouldn't believe. I enjoy making wreaths with dolls in them, and like Victorian dolls, like for Christmas and such. And I am telling you, they hold like none other. I mean, fishing line is strong. Not only is it strong, but once you tie it once, like I just did there, it grips and holds. It's not going to unslide quickly. So I use fishing line, again, for wreaths, for my Christmas bows, for this kind of work that you see me doing right here. I use really, really, really thin fishing line to do beadwork for cards and such. Yeah, fishing line is great. I love it. And it's not expensive in comparison to some of the other products we might use. Okay, so now we've got this little triple bow here all figured out, and we're going to place it right underneath that little flower that we had out from the very beginning of the project. I'm going to go ahead and adhere this with some double-sided tape. I'm just going to cut a little square because these particular flowers are not pre-gummed or taped or sticky in any way, shape, or form. So I'm just going to rub that on, use a little bit of Fabri-Tac, and just glue it into place. Not difficult at all. And as you can see, I'm leaving my fishing line in there right now. Okay, I'm just going to leave it all together, not a big deal. I'm adhering the string with a little piece of double-sided tape and a little bit of Fabri-Tac. And I'll just put a little dab on there and stick the little bow in place, fishing line and all. Then I will come in with the little flower, do the exact same thing. And I find that it really does hold. I have not had a problem with this holding. So if you have issues with your embellishments holding, possibly try some double-sided tape along with a Fabri-Tac kind of glue, and maybe it'll work for you. Okay, so we are near the end of this video, and if you have stuck with me through this, I thank you so much. We've covered a lot of material, some tips and tricks, and some new ideas about placing the folds of his cereal boxes where we want the folds in our projects, and just all kinds of things that might be new to you. I hope so. I hope I've been able to share something new with you today. Questions, comments, leave them in the box below. I'm excited to use this project and just see what kind of mixed media cards I can come up with. Again, I so appreciate you and your time. Have a great week, and I'll catch up with you in the next video. Bye.